The stars above Earth were quiet, but something new had appeared. A large silver ship hovered in the sky, larger than any mountain. It did not attack. It only waited. People across the world watched the sky with fear. News spread fast. This was not a satellite or a human craft. This ship belonged to a species that had never contacted Earth before. They were known only from distant signals. But now, they were here. The United Human Council met in a secure underground base. Every leader looked serious, some looked scared. They had received a message from the ship. It came in clear, perfect English. "We are the Serax Dominion. We seek to judge your kind. Send one voice. Send your strongest mind." The message repeated every hour. The council argued. Some wanted to send a scientist. Others wanted a military leader. A few said they should say nothing. But then an old man stood up. His name was Ravi. He was not a soldier. He was not a president. He was not famous. But he had worked in silence for many years, helping build peace between nations. He was calm, careful, and thoughtful. Some said he understood fear better than anyone. Some said he had none. "I will go," he said, without raising his voice. The room fell quiet. "Why you?" one asked. "Because they are not looking for power," Ravi said. "They are looking for reaction. If we give fear, they will strike. If we show pride, they will test us. But if we show understanding, they may think again." Many disagreed. But time was short. In the end, they chose him. Ravi was Earth's voice now. The next morning, a small human ship rose from Earth's surface and floated toward the alien vessel. It was like a fly flying to a sky whale. Inside the alien ship, the halls were wide and glowing. Everything was silent, but the air felt heavy. Creatures moved in smooth armor, their faces long and sharp. The Seracs were tall and thin, with green skin like stone and eyes that glowed with cold light. At the center of the ship stood their ruler, Queen Valatha. She wore a crown made of crystal and metal. Her presence made even her guards stand straighter. She had ruled for over 300 years, and no world had stood against her. She had destroyed rebellions with a word. She had watched empires fall with one hand raised. But today, she waited for a human. When Ravi stepped onto the ship, he did not shake. He did not speak first. He looked around slowly, then bowed his head once, with calm respect. Valatha's eyes narrowed. He was small compared to her. His clothes were plain. He carried nothing but a small recording device in his coat. "So this is your strongest?" she asked, her voice like steel. "I'm not the strongest," Ravi said, "but I understand strength." Valatha tilted her head. "You are soft, no armor, no weapons, no threats." Ravi smiled gently. "Do you fear only blades?" A short silence followed. Then a deep sound filled the chamber. Laughter. The Seracs guards laughed. Even Valatha gave a slight smile. "I see," she said. "You bring words to a knife fight." "I bring truth to a mirror," Ravi answered. Valatha stepped forward. She towered over him. Her eyes were sharp. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "What do you think your Earth is, little one? You stand before a power that spans 20 systems. We crush planets that refuse us. Then why not crush Earth already?" Ravi asked, still calm. Valatha stared at him. She had faced warriors, killers, even star beasts. None had looked at her like this, like she was not something to fear. She turned sharply. "Take him back. Let the people of Earth hear this. We will judge them soon." Ravi said nothing more. He simply bowed again, then followed the guards back to the human ship, back on Earth. People waited for news. Cameras showed Ravi stepping out, calm and quiet. Reporters shouted questions. The council met him in private. "What did she say?" "Nothing and everything," Ravi replied. She expected fear. She received reflection. She did not like it. The council looked worried. "Do we prepare for attack?" "We prepare for understanding," Ravi said. "But we do not kneel." Far above, on her ship, Queen Valatha sat alone in her chamber. She played back the moment she had looked into Ravi's eyes. No fire, no hate, no pride, only something she could not explain. Not strength as she knew it, but something deeper, a power that made no sound, but still pressed on her mind. For the first time in years, she did not feel sure. She looked out the window at the blue planet below. She whispered to herself, "What are you hiding, Earth?" And in that silence, something inside her trembled. Queen Valitha sat in her private hall, where golden light shone from the crystal walls. Her throne rose high above the floor, shaped like a burning star. Round her, silent servants moved with care. The air was cold and still. Her face showed no fear, but her thoughts were not calm. She had ruled the Seracs' dominion with clear power. She had ended wars with sharp orders. She had brought over 40 worlds under her crown. Every ruler in the nearby stars knew her name and respected her strength. But now, something strange had entered her world. Not a weapon, not a fleet, just one human. His name was Ravi. He did not shout or beg. He had no soldiers or ships. But when he stood before her, he did not lower his eyes. His words had been soft, but they stayed in her mind. "Do you fear only blades?" She had laughed at first. Now, hours later, she was not laughing. She opened a screen and called her lead scientist, a short and sharp-minded Serax named Rilo. "Bring me all records about Earth," she ordered. Rilo nodded. "We have many scans, my queen. We studied their wars, their science, their language. Send me what they built. Show me their changes in the last 100 years," she said. Rilo tapped quickly, and many images appeared on the wall. Cities had grown. Machines had advanced. Satellites circled their planet. Rockets had left the surface and entered deep space in only 1 century. Humans had made a path from the sky to the stars. Valitha narrowed her eyes. "Faster than expected. They learn fast," Rilo said. "But they are still young. No warp drive. No planetary weapons. They are far behind us." Valitha stood. She walked to the window and looked down at the blue planet below. "And yet one of them made me think. He stood like he knew the end of our empire." Rilo blinked in surprise. "He was only a speaker. One man." Valitha shook her head. "That is what worries me. If one quiet voice can reach me, what can a united world do? Back on Earth, Ravi sat in a quiet room deep under the human command center. The council had asked him many questions. He had answered with care. Now, he rested, a cup of tea in his hand, his eyes closed. A young officer named Lena entered the room. She looked nervous, but curious. "Sir, the council asked if you think the aliens will attack." Ravi opened his eyes. "Not yet." "Why not?" "They are waiting. The queen expected a weak species. She is not sure anymore. But we have no power like theirs." Ravi nodded. "Power is not only in weapons. It is in the way we choose to act." Lena sat across from him. "Do you think we should be afraid?" "Fear is natural," Ravi said. "But fear does not mean we must break. Fear can become strength." Lena listened carefully. She had trained as a soldier, but no one had ever spoken like this to her. Why did she tremble? She asked. "Because I didn't," Ravi answered. Above, the queen was not resting. She had called her high command. Generals, scientists, and spies stood around a large round table. A map of Earth glowed in the center. "We need more information," Valitha said. "We saw one human. I want to know what they are hiding." One general stepped forward. "Shall we scan deeper, enter their lower atmosphere?" Another spoke. "Or send a message with pressure. Let them see our power." Valitha raised her hand. "No, not yet. We do not strike the dark until we understand what is inside." She pointed to the map. "Send small probes, silent ones. Let them scan key areas. But keep them hidden." The command agreed. Valitha turned away. She whispered to herself, "He said we respect peace, but we remember everything. What does that mean?" The next day, 3 Serax probes entered Earth's skies. They were small and silent, shaped like drops of metal. They moved fast and without sound. Their target was not cities, but secret bases hidden under oceans and inside mountains. But something strange happened. As each probe neared its target, the image on Valitha's screen turned dark. One by one, the probes vanished. No sound, no flash, no trace. Rilo ran into the queen's chamber. "My queen, The probes are gone. Valatha turned slowly. Destroyed. We cannot confirm. They were simply removed. By whom? We do not know. Valatha's eyes darkened. She called for a new message to Earth. This time, she sent it directly to Ravi. The message said, "Your skies are guarded better than they appear." "What did you use?" Ravi answered with a single line. "What you see is only what we allow." Back on the ship, silence fell again. Valatha's generals looked uneasy. Rilo stared at the words. "They know our moves," one officer said. "Or they can guess," another added. Valatha stood, quiet and still. She looked at the planet again. "This is not a weak world," she said. "No," Rilo replied. "But they are alone." Valatha thought for a moment. Alone species do not survive long. But this one grew fast, Rilo said. They built in chaos. They fought each other, but kept moving forward. Valatha nodded slowly. "And now they face us together." Her voice was soft. "We may not break them as easily as we thought." Far below, in the calm halls of Earth's command, Ravi looked at the sky. He was not smiling. His eyes were steady. He knew the Queen was thinking. He knew doubt had entered her mind. And he knew that was the first small step to peace or the first cold move toward war. Either way, Earth would not bow. The Seracs command chamber was bright with blue light. Holograms of Earth floated in the air. Spinning slowly, round the room stood generals, advisors, and guards at the center. Queen Valatha stood with her arms crossed. Her eyes were sharp, but her voice was calm. "Our probes failed," she said. "But this does not mean Earth is stronger than us. It means they are careful." General Thar, a tall and proud Seracs warrior, stepped forward. "My queen, I request permission to send a small fleet, not to attack, only to observe. If they have secrets, we will see them. If they act against us, we will respond with power." Valatha looked at the map of Earth. "You will not fire first." Thar bowed. "I will not, but I will not let our empire look weak." Valatha thought for a moment, then gave a slight nod. "You may go. Choose your ships carefully. I want no noise, only eyes." Thar smiled. He gave a signal to his officers. 5 Seracs ships left the main vessel, moving toward Earth like dark birds in the sky. On Earth, the Human Council received word from deep space sensors. 5 objects were moving through orbit. They were not firing, not speaking, but they were close enough to be a warning. The council called for Ravi. He entered the room with his usual calm. "They are testing us," one leader said. "Should we respond?" "No," Ravi said. "Not yet. They may attack. They are looking for fear." Ravi answered, "Let them see our silence instead." High above, General Thar's fleet moved into lower orbit. From his ship, he stared at the blue world below. He had no respect for humans. He believed they were clever animals, not a true threat, in his view. Ravi's calm had only hidden weakness. "They hide in quiet," Thar said. "I will show the Queen their limits." He ordered his ships to scan deeply. They sent invisible waves through clouds, through oceans, through stone. They searched for weapons. Command centers, energy fields. For a moment, it seemed nothing would happen. Then, the lights on Thar's control board blinked red. One ship's engine shut down. The second ship's weapons locked without command. The third spun in place, frozen. The fourth sent no signal at all. The fifth began to fall. Panic spread across the bridge. "Systems are not responding," an officer shouted. Thar's eyes went wide. "Retreat, full lift, return to command vessel." But it was too late. All 5 ships came to a stop in the sky, held by something unseen. There was no fire, no sound. They simply stopped moving, like toys held by invisible hands. Then, one by one, they were lowered gently into the ocean near the southern pole. Valatha received the report seconds later. Her screen lit up. A silent image appeared. It showed all 5 ships resting safely on calm water. Their weapons melted, their systems dark. No one harmed, but the message was clear. A human voice followed. "We do not destroy. We disable. This is not war. This is a warning." Valatha stared at the screen for a long time. Her general spoke in angry tones. This is an act of war. They tricked us. We must respond. Valitha raised her hand. The room fell silent. She looked at the message. Again. No pride, no fire, only control stood from her throne. They did not shoot. They did not kill. They only stopped us. But how? General Thar asked. His face showed shame. They planned for our test, she said, and they passed theirs. Back on Earth, the council asked Ravi how the ships had been stopped. He did not explain the full plan. He only said, we used what we needed. Nothing more. The council looked at him with respect and caution. One leader asked, what if they attack in full? Then we will answer, Ravi said. But not with fear. News spread across Earth. Videos of the alien ships floating on the ocean played on every screen. People were shocked. Some cheered. Some feared what would come next. But one thing was clear. Humanity was not helpless. In the Seracs dominion, across many worlds. Leaders began to talk. Messages passed between fleets and planets. Some asked if the Queen had failed. Others asked if Earth was more than it seemed. In her chamber, Valitha read those messages. She remembered Ravi's words, we respect peace, but we remember everything. She now believed those words were not empty. She called for a full report on Earth's history. This time, she read every page. She saw a species that had survived ice, fire, and war. She saw great battles and great peace. She saw how they had rebuilt cities after destruction. She saw how they had learned to reach space with little help. She saw how fast they grew, not because they were perfect, but because they were willing to try again. Valitha felt something she rarely felt, respect. Later that night. She stood alone in the observation room of her ship. Stars shone beyond the glass. Earth floated below, blue and quiet. She whispered to herself, we tried to shake them, but they did not fall. And inside, she felt a shift. She no longer saw Earth as a subject to be ruled. She saw it as a mystery to be understood. A cool wind moved through the valley. Mountains stood like silent guards on each side. In the middle of this quiet land was a hidden base, deep underground. The world above looked peaceful, but below the surface, it was alive with planning, research, and silent machines. Inside the base, Ravi walked through long metal halls. Soldiers and scientists gave him a respectful nod as he passed. He was not dressed like a leader. He wore a simple coat and soft shoes. But every person there knew who he was. He was the voice Earth had chosen, and his words had stopped an empire. A woman joined him. Her name was Mira. She was a lead strategist, young, sharp, and curious. The council has questions, she said. They want to know your next step. Ravi smiled gently. The Queen is unsure now. This is the right time to invite her to speak again. Mira blinked. Invite her here? To this base? Yes, Ravi said. Let her see what we really are. She might send spies. Let her, Ravi answered. Let her see the truth with her own eyes. On the Seracs command ship, Queen Valitha sat in a dark room, thinking deeply. The silence around her was thick. She had not spoken much since the failure of the scouting fleet. She had read reports, reviewed data, and watched recordings of Earth's response. Then a new message arrived from Ravi. We invite a Seracs diplomat to visit. One ship, no weapons, come in peace, see what you fear. Valitha read the message twice. It was calm. Like always, no threat, just a challenge wrapped in peace. Her advisors warned against it. It could be a trap. They may be planning to trick us, but Valitha was not afraid of truth. I will not go myself, she said, but I will send a diplomat, someone who can listen and speak with care. She chose her old advisor, Duran. He was wise, older than most, and trusted by many. Valitha looked at him before he left. Listen closely. Watch with an open mind. Tell me not what you expect, but what you find. Duran arrived 2 days later. The ship that brought him was small and unarmed. Earth's defense systems scanned it fully before letting it land inside the hidden base. Ravi welcomed him. Duran was tall and slow-moving. His face showed age and patience. He had seen many worlds, many cultures, but nothing had prepared him for what he saw here. He expected tight guards and loud speeches. Instead, he found soft lights, quiet halls, and minds focused on thought. Mira gave him a full tour. She showed him the research wings where scientists worked on clean energy, space travel. In medicine, she showed the learning centers where children studied history, science, and philosophy. We do not build power only in weapons, Mira said. We build it in minds. Duran was silent as he listened. Later, they showed him Earth's defense center. Screens lined the walls. Satellites watched the sky. Commanders stood ready but calm. No one shouted. No one panicked. This is where we saw your fleet arrive, Ravi said. We did not fire, but we did prepare. Duran asked, how did you stop 5 ships without using force? Ravi replied, we used understanding. We learned your patterns. We found quiet ways to slow your systems without harm. Strength is not always loud. Duran nodded slowly. You are not what we expected. That night, Duran spoke privately with Ravi. I have served the Seracs Queen for many years. I have watched empires fall and rise. I believe Earth was young and wild, but now I see something else. He paused. You carry power in silence. You lead not by fear, but by presence. That is rare. Ravi looked at the stars above through a clear ceiling. We have made mistakes, he said, but we learn, we grow, and we do not run. Duran smiled. You remind me of someone long ago, before our empire became cold. When Duran returned to the Seracs ship, he carried a full report. Valitha met him in a private chamber. Well, she asked. They are not weak, Duran said. They are not wild. They are steady. They know who they are. He handed her a recording. Valitha watched it carefully. She saw Earth's base. She saw children learning peace and soldiers preparing quietly. She heard Ravi speak again, and she felt the same weight she had felt before. She turned to Duran. Do they want war? No? He answered. But if it comes, they will not bend. Valitha walked to the window. Her fingers touched the glass. Earth floated there, calm and blue. Then we must decide, she said. We can push harder and risk a storm, or we can listen and find a new path. Duran gave her a simple answer. I believe the path of peace is still open, Valitha said. Nothing for a moment. Then she nodded. Prepare a message, she said. I will speak to Earth again. On Earth, Ravi stood in the control room as a new signal arrived. The room fell quiet. Valitha's voice came through clear. I have seen your world. I have heard your silence. You do not shout, but we hear you. Let us speak again, not as rulers and subjects, but as minds who seek to understand. Ravi gave a simple reply. We welcome that path. In that moment, two distant minds reached across space with respect. No weapons fired, no walls rosient. The stars watched in silence as something rare began to grow between worlds, not fear, but understanding. The halls of the Seracs Dominion's capital world were once filled with pride. Tall towers stood like frozen spears under a red sky. Ships flew in perfect lines across the air. Everything moved with control. Everything obeyed one voice, Queen Valitha. But now, quiet tension was rising across the empire. Her choice to speak with Earth, to pause the pressure, was being questioned by many. Not all Seracs leaders agree with her path. Some saw it as weakness. Others whispered that Earth had done something to the Queen's mind. In dark rooms, military officers gathered. In secret messages, High Lords spoke of taking action without the Queen's orders. Some called Earth a danger. Some called Ravi a silent weapon. But the Queen remained calm. She continued to speak with Earth. She received messages from Ravi, each one short and clear. She studied human art, science, and history. She spent long hours watching how humans reacted to peace and pressure. She saw how fast they learned, how strong their unity became when tested. And this made her respect them more. On one Seracs colony, a young officer named Varn had just returned from Earth. He had gone as a spy, but he had not found what he expected. He had seen schools built near defense centers. He had seen scientists working beside soldiers. He had seen how humans fought not with hate, but with purpose when he returned home. His report was different from what the High Command wanted. They do not seek war, he said. They are not weak. They are ready, but they wait, and they will not fall easily. His words were rejected. His rank was lowered, but he did not stay silent. He began to speak to others. More officers listened. Some remembered what Duran had said after returning from Earth. Some began to wonder if Earth was not a threat, but a mirror that showed how far the Seracs had fallen from understanding. In the High Chamber, Valitha read a report from the outer fleets. 2 ships had refused to return. Their commanders had sent private messages. They claimed that the Queen had lost her power. One message read, "We serve the Dominion, not doubt." Valitha closed the file. She stood and looked at her advisors. "They think peace is weakness," she said. "They do not understand," Duran replied. "But they will." Back on Earth, Ravi stood in a quiet forest near the human base. Tall trees rose around him. The air was cool and fresh. Mira walked beside him. "They say the Seracs are beginning to turn against their queen," she said. Ravi nodded. "Change always brings fear. Should we be worried? Not yet. The queen still holds her mind, and as long as she listens, peace still has a chance." Mira looked at him with respect. "You have done something no one else could." Ravi smiled. "I did not do it alone. I just reminded them who we are." But not all was calm. In orbit above Earth, the Serac's listening ship had been watching without permission. It was hidden behind a moon, using shadow tech. Its mission was to track Ravi and send his words to the rebel generals. Earth systems found it within hours. Instead of destroying it, Ravi gave a different order. "Send them everything," he said. Mira looked surprised. "You want to feed their spying?" "Yes, let them hear all of it. Let them hear the truth." So the Serac's spies received full recordings of Earth's meetings. They heard Ravi speak of peace. They saw how humans train for defense, not attack. They watched how Ravi spoke of the Seracs not as enemies, but as people who had forgotten their way. Some Seracs officers who read these reports began to feel shame. They began to wonder if they had judged Earth too fast. Others became more angry, thinking it was all a trick. The Empire was splitting, not by force, but by thought. In the Serac Senate, voices rose. One senator shouted, "The Queen speaks of peace, but Earth prepares for war. We must act." Another replied, "No, Earth has shown great care. We are the ones who pushed first." The Senate had not been this divided in many years, and while they argued, the Queen remained quiet. She was preparing something else. Valitha stood in her private hall with Dran and a trusted technician. A new device was being built. It was not a weapon. It was a message beam. A new kind of communication system that could send thought, feeling, and sound all together. Not just words, but the sense behind them. "I want this to speak not just to Earth," she said, "but to our own people." Duran looked at her with hope. "You want them to feel what you felt when you saw him." "Yes," she said. "They will not believe words alone, but they will believe truth." The next day, across the stars, every Serac's screen lit up. A signal was sent across the Dominion. It showed images of Earth, of green forests and stormy seas, of humans working, laughing, building, of Ravi standing in silence while ships flew above him. Then the Queen's voice came. "We looked at Earth and saw weakness, but it was our eyes that were blind. They offered peace, and we answered with fear. Yet they waited. They showed power, and we called it a trick. But it was our pride that fooled us." She paused. "I choose to listen. I choose to learn. And if others cannot accept this path, then I no longer lead them." The message ended. Across the Empire, silence followed. Some cheered. Some shouted. Some left their posts. Some picked up their tools again. But one thing was clear. The Queen had made her choice. Back on Earth, Ravi watched the message from a quiet room. He said nothing for a long time. Then he looked at Mira. She chose the harder path. And if her empire breaks, then it was not strong, Ravi said. Not in the way that matters. The sky was clear above the valley. A soft wind moved through the grass. The mountains stood strong on every side, guarding the quiet land below. In the middle of that land, A small platform had been built. No weapons, no soldiers, only a signal. Tower and a landing pad. Ravi stood there, waiting. A message had arrived 2 days ago. Queen Valitha had asked for a direct meeting. No ships, no guards, just her and him. The human council had argued. It could be dangerous. She may still attack. She may be testing us. Ravi had listened to every voice. Then he had spoken softly. If she wanted war, it would have started already. But she is still choosing words. I will meet her. And now he waited alone. As promised. Above the earth, a Serax shuttle entered the atmosphere. It was small and light, shaped like a silver bird. The world watched its slow descent. Cameras followed every movement. But the shuttle carried no weapons. Inside sat Queen Valitha. She wore no crown, no armor, only a dark robe, smooth and simple. Her hands were still, her eyes calm. She had ruled for centuries with power. Now she stepped forward with silence. The shuttle landed. The door opened with a soft sound. Valitha stepped down and walked toward Ravi. He did not move. He did not speak first. When they stood face to face, she stopped. For a long moment, no words passed between them. The breeze moved. Through the grass, a bird flew overhead. The earth held its breath. Then Valitha spoke. I have met many leaders. None like you. Ravi nodded. And I have seen many rulers. Few who listen. Valitha looked around. You came alone. So did you? Ravi replied. A faint smile touched her face. Strange, isn't it? That two who hold no weapons can move empires. Ravi looked at the sky. Words can be stronger than blades. Valitha stepped beside him and looked up. I built an empire on order, on fear. I thought it would bring peace. But it only brought silence and earth. Ravi asked. We build in chaos, he said. But it taught us how to rise. Every mistake became a lesson. Every fall became a reason to climb. Valitha was quiet for a moment. I watched your people. You learn faster than we ever did. You care in ways we forgot. You remember pain. We tried to erase ours. Ravi turned to her. Then maybe your empire can begin again. Valitha met his eyes. Not all will follow me. Some call me weak. Some plan to act without my voice. Then this meeting matters more than ever, Ravi said. She nodded. I came here not to demand, not to rule. I came to see you, not as a leader, but as a person. Ravi stepped forward. Then let us speak with no titles. They walked slowly across the field. No cameras followed, no microphones. Just two minds from two worlds. They spoke of peace, of fear, of the cost of power, of the strength hidden in kindness. They shared thoughts not written in reports. They asked questions with no simple answers. The sun moved across the sky. Hours passed like minutes. In the mountains above, Mira watched through a long-range lens. She stood beside a small team. All ready but silent. They are still talking. One. Siddharth. Mira smiled. Then the future is still growing. Far away, in space, parts of the Serax Dominion had already started to break apart. Some commanders left their posts. Others called for votes to remove the queen. Some planets chose to remain loyal. Some prepared for war. But all of them waited to hear the result of the meeting. Back in the valley, the sky turned orange as the sun began to fall. Ravi and Valitha returned to the platform. Valitha turned to him. I cannot promise the whole empire will follow my path, but I will no longer lead by fear. Ravi placed a small tablet in her hand. It holds a plan. A future where Earth and Serax can share space, knowledge, and peace. Valitha looked at it for a long time. Will they believe it? Some will. Ravi said, others will take time. But time is our gift now. Valitha gave a small nod. Then I will speak with your council. Let this be the first real bridge between us. When the queen returned to her ship, the stars were already bright. Her voice was sent to every part of the Dominion. She said, I met the human. I spoke not as queen, but as one mind to another. I did not bring shame back from Earth. I bring hope. We once ruled by control. I now choose to lead by trust. If you follow, we build something better. If you do not, I release you from my rule. That message shook the stars. In the human council chamber, the message was received. Ravi stood before the leaders. She has taken the step. We must now take ours. What do you suggest? One asked. A joint council. A peaceful meeting. In orbit, no weapons, only ideas. The vote was quick. The answer was yes. Later that night, Ravi walked alone in the valley. The stars above were calm. The land below was quiet. He felt no pride, only peace. He knew many challenges still waited. He knew not all would agree. But one thing was true. The queen had looked at him not as a threat, not as an enemy. She had looked at him as a reflection of something forgotten, and that was enough to begin again. High above Earth, the first joint council station floated in orbit. It was shaped like a ring, half silver and half blue, showing the unity between Seracs and humans. Lights moved gently across its surface. Flags from both civilizations hung side by side. Inside, voices from two worlds filled the meeting halls. The work had begun. It had been 3 weeks since the meeting in the valley. The message from Queen Valitha had shaken the stars. Some Seracs leaders rejected her new path, but many others opened their doors to peace. Small groups from both sides had started to meet. Ideas were shared. Questions were asked. Wounds were faced. Not everything went smoothly, but something had changed for the first time. The fear was not stronger than the hope. Ravi entered the station quietly. His steps were steady. He wore a simple dark suit with the Earth symbol on his chest. Round him, the air was calm. Soft lights guided his way. In the main hall, Valitha stood near the wide window that looked into deep space. She turned when she heard him. You arrived early, she said. So did you? Ravi replied. Valitha smiled faintly. I could not sleep. The stars were calling. Ravi walked to the window beside her. We used to dream about reaching them. Now we speak between them. Outside, the planets moved in silence. Ships passed by the station slowly, showing no weapons, only symbols of peace. The first joint council meeting began. Inside the grand hall, humans sat beside Serac's advisors. Old enemies now listened to each other. Some were quiet, some were nervous, but none had walked away. Ravi stood and spoke first. We are not here to forget the past. We are here to build the future. He stepped aside. Queen Valitha spoke next. My people were taught to follow without question. I was one of them. But when I saw the strength of a single human voice, I remember the power of choice. The room was silent as her words settled. Then a Serac scholar stood. I believed humans were simple and slow. I was wrong. I see now that your strength is not in your machines. It is in your heart. Mira, sitting behind Ravi, smiled quietly. Over the next few days, the station became a place of new beginnings. Engineers shared blueprints. Farmers spoke about food from both worlds. Artists painted stories of peace on the walls. One Serac's child drew Ravi shaking hands with the queen. The drawing was placed on the station's entrance. Not everyone agreed with the changes. Some humans feared the Seracs would betray them. Some Seracs believed Earth was too wild. But Ravi and Valitha kept meeting, kept talking, kept showing that peace was not weakness. It was strength with direction. One night, Ravi stood alone on the observation deck. Mira walked in with 2 warm drinks and handed him one. You should rest, she said. I will, he replied. She looked at him. You don't smile much anymore. He took a sip. There is still so much to do. But you've already done more than most. He stayed quiet. Mira placed her hand on the glass window. Do you ever wonder why the queen listened to you? Ravi looked at her. I think she remembered what it means to feel small under the stars. Power makes many forget. But she remembered. The station received a signal. One of the Serac's rebel fleets had turned back. They were not attacking. They were asking for a meeting. Valitha sat in her private room when the message reached her. She read the report, closed her eyes, and let out a long breath. She tapped her calm. Call Ravi in a small room. Ravi and Valitha met again. She handed him the tablet. They are not coming for war. They want to listen. Ravi looked up. They were the ones who called you weak. She nodded. They were afraid of what they didn't understand. And now, they are curious. Ravi placed the tablet down. Then let's be ready when they arrive. Days later, a small Serax rebel ship landed at the station. The council was ready. No soldiers. Just open doors. The rebels walked in slowly. Their leader, an older Serax male, looked around. He had sharp eyes, tired from years of conflict. He stepped in front of Valitha and spoke. I called you a traitor to your kind. I said peace was weakness. I was wrong. Valitha bowed her head slightly. Then speak. And let us begin again. Back on Earth, people watched the news with quiet wonder. Children in schools drew stars. Farmers planted food to share. Scientists built devices with Serax engineers. Slowly, the fear faded, not because of power, but because of progress. Ravi returned to Earth for a short time. He stood in the same valley where he had once waited for the Queen. Now, flowers grew where the shuttle had landed. A small stone had been placed there with words carved in it. From silence came voices. From fear came light. He sat there for a while, breathing in the air. A young boy walked up, carrying a small book. Are you the man who made the Queen stop the war? Ravi looked at the boy and smiled. No, I'm the man who asked her to listen. The boy opened the book and began to read. Ravi listened quietly. The stars kept moving. The station in orbit expanded. A new ship was designed by both Serax and human hands. It would carry a team far beyond known space. Not to conquer, not to defend, but to explore. It was named the Dawnlight. Ravi and Valitha stood beside it during the ceremony. It is not yours or mine, she said. It is ours, Ravi replied, and together they watched the ship rise into the sky. The universe had not changed. It still held danger, silence, and unknown paths. But now, among those stars, two voices had joined, and when they spoke, others listened. Because when the Queen had looked into the eyes of a human who held no weapon, she saw not a threat, saw a future. And so, the mighty empire once built on fear had felt the shock and began to rebuild with hope.